she turns to Morgan and she's like, get me out of here right now. I don't want to be anywhere near anybody right now. So she takes her to the only place that she knows that nobody would know that she's there, and she winnows Feyre to this house that's like basically up on a mountain, like 10,000 steps up to it, and you can't winnow in unless you're certain people. So what? You look like you want to say something.
Doesn't she go to the cabin?
Was it the cabin? It might have been.
It was the cabin. She goes to the cabin.
Oh, I'm a liar.
Cabin.
Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Literal Trash. I'm one of your hosts, Christina.
And I'm your other host, Rayven.
And this is back to the regularly scheduled program. No, I'm just kidding. But this is the Literal Trash episode, not the trash talking. We are back with, let me grab it off my bookshelf. A Court of Mist and Fury. I had to make sure that was the second book. Okay. This is the one where it gets juicy. Because if you remember from the last episode, we talked about, well, the last Literal Trash episode, we talked about how at this point we loved Tamlin. Like, he was like the best guy. He kept quiet about Feyre so that, you know, she wouldn't get hurt with Amarantha, but also he was kind of like standing back a little bit, so we were not very happy with him towards the end. And some key details to remember as we go into this story is that Feyre made a deal with Rhysand under the mountain. That was a big deal because Tamlin found out and dude was pissed. And also, the deal ends up being what, a week? She has to spend a week out of the month with him, out of every month.
A month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Man, it's crazy. So at the end of the book, I believe the end of the first book, correct me if I'm wrong, Rhysand sees her before she leaves under the mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, like, it was like he jerked back at one point in time, right? We'll find out what that was all about in this book. Because, man, I love it so much. I love how it like ties on together.
Is this your favorite?
I think it is. I think it is. And I think this is my favorite because
it's definitely,
this is when it all comes together, you know, like for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge romance nerd, so it just kind of this is it for me. Okay. So I just want to point out also, let's start off by saying, one, as we mentioned in every episode, these are our own opinions. This doesn't reflect on anybody else but us. And also, I want to put out there that there will be a trigger warning for abuse and mental illness. So it could be emotional abuse, also physical abuse, as far as, trapping someone. So let's just start off with that trigger warning. Also, a little bit of craziness going on. As you'll see from the last episode, if you are watching on YouTube, the settings have been kind of weird with our recording software, so we're just trying to figure all that out. So just bear with us, as well as our backgrounds might be changing a little bit. I know mine has. So if you see any differences, comment them. I'm just kidding. Um, all right. So again, trigger warning. It gets pretty intense as far as mental illness, and I know for me it's kind of a sore spot as well. Um but let's get into it. Do-do-do-do.
Okay.
Um do we want to read the back of the book? I think we should make that a
Yeah,
tradition.
make that a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
here we go. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing all of the names right, and also I have a really thick accent, so it might come off um wrong. So I
You got
apologize.
it. You got it.
Yo, look, my hype woman. She's my hype woman. All right. Farah has undergone more trials than one human woman can carry in her heart. Though she's now been granted powers and lifespan of the High Fae, she is haunted by her time under the mountain and the terrible deeds she performed to save the lives of Tamlin and his people. As her marriage to Tamlin approaches, Farah's hollowness and nightmares consume her. She finds herself split into two different people, one who upholds her bargain with Rhysand, High Lord of the feared Night Court, and one who lives out her life in the Spring Court with Tamlin. While Farah navigates a dark web of politics, passion, and dazzling power, a greater evil looms. She might just be the key to stopping it, but only if she can harness her harrowing gifts, heal her fractured soul, and decide how she wishes to shape her future and the future of a world in turmoil. Mm.
Ooh.
So, what did you expect when going into this one? Like after reading the first one, what were your expectations for the second book?
I definitely expected more Rhysand. Not only because they had the bargain, so I knew we'd be seeing him, but he was just such an important character kind of towards the end, and I just knew we would be seeing him again, which was really exciting because I liked him.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I was thinking more Sand because of the bargain for sure. And but I don't know if I was expecting everything that happened in the book. I think I was pretty blown away by some of it. Um and
Yeah.
I was definitely expecting Lucian to be the way Lucian is in this book. He's very loyal to Tamlin. He doesn't stray away from
Mm-hmm.
Tamlin at all. And I understand that. He kind of took him under his wing, you know? But at the same
Yeah.
time, I don't know. But we get to meet new characters.
Yeah. Yay.
Who's
One
your
more
favorite new
chance.
character? Let's ask you that first. Who's your favorite new character?
That's a hard question. I think I like Amryn.
Amryn. Yeah.
She's
Amryn
my
is a force to be
favorite.
reckoned with. I like Amryn a lot. I
I
think
like that. I
Morgan
like
is
that.
probably my
Yeah.
favorite. Just because she reminds me of me.
Yes.
Like kind of like outgoing and bubbly
Okay.
and
Okay. Okay.
um
Mhm.
but also can handle her own if she needs to, you know? So
Yeah. It doesn't take any shit from anybody. Yeah.
right, exactly. Okay. So we start on the first or on the second book, we start 3 months after Under the Mountain. What has happened in this 3 months?
Mhm.
Well, they're engaged. She has nightmares.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah. She's
meet
not doing well.
and we meet the priestess Yanthi is I guess how it's pronounced. I looked it up and that's what it says. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Feyre's not doing well at all. She's
Right.
throwing up every night, having nightmares.
Yes.
Not doing well.
She's not.
Traumatized.
Yeah, and she's not the only one. She's not the only one who has nightmares. And um, you just automatically assume, like, Tamlin, yeah. But there's other people we find out that have nightmares too. So Feyre tries her hardest, right, to get out of the house. She wants to get out of the house, and I don't blame her. And what does Tamlin do? Oh, buddy.
Hey, don't let her go.
Nope, sure don't. He keeps her in the house, which this is what we were
Yeah.
talking about when it comes to abuse and mental illness, because she is not happy about it, but she kind of caters to what he wants because she thinks, oh, I love him. I'm going to do what he wants me to do because I love him. He cares for me. He wants best for me. So that's why he's trapping me in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some people get caught up in love and have their blinders on and only want to see, like only want to see what's right in front of them instead of like looking beyond the scope of like what could be in a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, what did you think about how? So after he's told her a few times she can't go anywhere. She's been hanging out with Ianthe. They become friends. They talk about their lives together. Well, she talks about her life to Ianthe. And the wedding day comes. So
Right.
the
Right.
dress. Let's talk about the dress. How Sarah J.
Oh
Maas
yeah.
describes the dress.
Hideous, and Feyre absolutely hates it.
Yeah, I imagine it to be like Cinderella. you know,
Yeah, big and
like
poofy.
big,
Yeah.
poofy, totally not Feyre. And if you knew a little bit about Feyre, you would know that that's not what she would want. She's very simple, like she likes to be
Mm-hmm.
simple, clean. I would imagine what she would want for her wedding dress would be just like a gown that's just no beading, no nothing, just sleek and has like a crisscross in the back. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, I see it.
But she has like all this tulle and it's huge, and even Tamlin thinks it's ugly,
Yeah.
but he's like,
Yep.
just wear it.
That's what Ianthe wants, so
Excuse me?
she gets what she wants.
Yeah, apparently. But not all the time, and we'll come to that later. Um
Yes, we will.
So let's go back to the nightmares really quick because I skipped over it and I would really like to bring this up. Because if I was
Okay.
having nightmares and I was waking up in the middle of the night throwing up, I would want my significant other to come check on me and make sure I'm okay. While Tamlin does none of the sort.
Correct. That's true.
Yeah. So he
Yeah,
just,
I agree. Some comfort or something would be nice.
yeah, well, you're not going to come make sure I'm okay? Like, my husband would make sure I'm okay if I would, which I've had dreams about going back in the military, nightmares about going back in the military a bunch of times. And I woke up crying. And if he notices, he's going to ask me if I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
He doesn't even do that from what I'm seeing. So,
Yeah, I don't think he does.
yeah. So, what's your thoughts on, do you think there was a reason why he didn't do that, or?
Um, I don't know if he just doesn't know how to deal with it. He doesn't seem like he knows how to deal with his emotions or her emotions.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure he's battling his own demons, but he just doesn't handle emotion very well, which we also read about later. He has
Oh yeah.
some explosive outrages
Some
that he can't
meltdowns.
control.
He's like a
Some
daggum toddler.
Yes, some meltdown. Yes,
And I should know I have one of those. And that's so fun. But
yeah, I bet.
okay. So let's get back to the wedding day. Wedding day comes and she sees Tamlin and Ianthe is in the she's like the priestess, so right, she's the one that's leading the wedding. She's
Yeah.
gonna be the priestess. So she's
Yeah.
walking down the aisle, and in the book she describes her kind of panicking internally, and
Mhm.
also throughout like the beginning of the book it's kind of hints at her feeling some type of way about the eye on her hand, like the tattoo from the bond, or from the
Mhm.
bargain. So, um,
Right.
go ahead.
In that time, even though Rhysand knew the bargain, he's supposed to get her 1 week a month. He hasn't called upon that bargain
Right.
since she's been home.
Which was 3 months,
And right, and he never called her to the night court the whole time.
which I think is very fair. You know, very
Right.
gracious of him to do that because he could have and he didn't, like you said. So,
Right. And he doesn't do it until Feyre is on her wedding day and she's panicking, saying that, she's just not sure, she doesn't want to do it. And he can feel that through the bond. He can feel
yeah.
her. So he comes and he picks her up. He's like,
Yep.
"You don't want to do it? I'll take you. It's time to call in on my bargain. I get my week. We're leaving right now.
Yep.
See you later."
And she's like, "No, I don't want to leave." And what does Tamlin do? What does he do?
Nothing.
Nothing. Just freaking
Absolutely
begs
nothing.
again. Like, come on, dude.
Typical
Grow
Tammy
some,
Tam.
please. Oh, and now I can finally tell y'all
Fight for your
that,
woman.
yeah, right. Now I can finally tell y'all that his nickname is Tampon. Yep.
Yeah.
We call him Tampon.
It is.
I mean it just fits. No pun intended. Okay. Um
Ew.
I'm an idiot. Okay. All right, so Rhysand shows up. He calls in his deal, and she goes back with him. And what happens at that point?
Mhm. She said it's the most beautiful place she's ever seen.
Yep, yep. She goes to his house, and
Mhm.
she's like wondering what he's gonna do. Like, is he gonna torture her and stuff? Which to me personally, I don't understand. Like, how you would think he was going to torture you and everything like that when he did nothing to you under the mountain that was crazy besides yeah, he kind of drugged her, but
He he
looking back
did,
he
but he
did
did
it
it for her
for
benefit so she
yeah.
wouldn't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he had to do that to keep up his ruse, right? So
Right.
I don't fault him for that because he was doing what he
Nah.
needed to do. But then again, I would have to say, oh well, Tamlin was doing what he needed to do, but no. I have a
He
very
didn't do anything he needed to do.
I have a I have a very like I have a lot of anger for Tamlin. I just don't you can't lock up a queen and not let her do what she needed to do. You just can't. It just makes me so mad that he wouldn't let her go help because she wanted to help. That's all she wanted to do. Okay. So we get introduced to my favorite person because she overhears a conversation between Reese and Feyre that doesn't go very well, and she goes, "Well, that went very well." But at the time, we didn't know that that was Morgan. But she's this
Right.
bubbly blonde, like, right? Bubbly blonde girl.
Mhm.
Super
Yeah, she
nice.
is. She is.
And
Mhm.
she is Reese's cousin. So
Oh yeah.
I totally forgot at one point that that was Reese's cousin. But
Yeah, I forget.
she's really cool. I really like her. Um
Yeah, she's kind to Feyre. Um, because they do meet eventually. In the house, and she's really nice to her and
yeah.
wants to be her friend.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that she does want to be her friend. Um I mean, yeah, she's bubbly and outgoing and stuff, but would you try to be friends with somebody that your cousin took captive? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you
Um,
knew the situation.
yeah, she knows things, right? So knowing those things, I think that I guess you would be okay with it, and you would want to befriend them.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a character, that one. But the
Yeah,
first
we see her a
thing,
lot throughout the book. She's cool.
yeah. The first thing that Farah asks Rhysand is like, what are you going to do to me? Like, what am I going to do? And I think it's funny that he's like, I think I'll make you read. I think I'll make you learn to
Oh
read.
yeah.
And she just struggles. She's on the struggle bus. But um like, and she like thinks that he's like trying to torture her. Her learning to read.
Yeah. Yeah, she thinks he's making fun of her and like trying to mock her, but really he just wants her to be a better person, wants to help her.
Mhm.
Not being able to read is, kind of detrimental to her way of life, her quality of
Right.
life. So
Right.
she just
And
wants to
we
help,
also
but
find out later
she
on
gets
though.
defensive about it.
Yeah. And we also find out later on though that um it was for a purpose. Like, it's not just for her benefit, not just to torture her, but to help everyone in the long run. Um and
Right.
you just need to read. You just need to learn how to read. Reading is fun. That's why we're
Yes,
doing
I'm
this
glad you learned how to
podcast.
read.
And if you can't, we will find resources to help you. You could send us an email. We'll post our email on our
Yeah,
Instagram.
do that.
Also, you can ask us questions on our Instagram too, and we'll post our email so you can send us questions. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we love questions.
Yeah. And we'll air them on our trash talk episodes.
Yeah,
Um
that's what those will be. Yeah.
yeah. So Feyre's learning to read. She's training because we
Mhm.
find out she's a, I don't know how to say the word correctly, but I think it's Damati.
Oh, me either.
Is it? I think it's like
Yeah, something like
Damati
that.
or Daymati.
Yeah,
If anybody wants to send us the
that's my
correct
best guess.
pronunciation.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
has Rhysand's power where she can get into your mind. So he starts training her on that to put up a shield to block other people out of her mind, and
Yep.
also trains her on how to get into other people's minds and like past his shield.
Mm-hmm.
So reading training and mind training.
Yeah, and I know we'll talk about this later on, but we find out she has other like powers per se that come from, or abilities that
Mhm.
come from the other seven High Lords, and it's very interesting to find out that she has like a little bit of each one of them. But I think for me, I would personally want the Damati power. That's what I would want. What would you want? If you could pick one of
I
them.
think that one too, probably. You could
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I'm
could
with
find out
both, but
any
yeah, you could do
information.
anything you wanted.
I'm just scraping my little
Yeah.
talons against your mind, figuring out like what. I can just
I
imagine him
gotta
going like
say
this.
though, like yeah, anytime they talked about it and they were like, and I, caressed my hand against his shield, or I, stuck my talons out against his shield, I just thought that was weird. I have a really hard time like visualizing that, like truly. I thought it was
Oh,
very
I
strange,
didn't. I
but
I didn't. I had like it was
really?
almost like I saw a brain and then like
Yeah,
just
I
like
know,
a
that's weird.
like plexiglass in front of the brain and then like somebody doing like this number.
You don't think that's weird?
I don't know. I don't know. I
Like,
think
because
it's kind of
imagine, like,
cool.
but imagine like you're a third party person like sitting in the room and you're watching them just like mind battle each other and they're just like
I
scraping their
never even
hands
thought
on
of
each
that.
other's mind shield
I ne-
and they're just staring at each
just a stare off like this.
other. Yeah, it's exactly like that. But they're imagining themselves in each other's brains scraping their weird talons on each other. That's
Gosh,
weird.
that's weird. That's
That's
suspicious.
suspicious.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that would be kind of weird, but at the same time, it's like really cool. Like
It
I,
is
I,
cool.
I think Reese probably has more of a like a hold on it to where he could probably just mask his face with something else going on, and he could reach out and just grab your mind really quick.
Well, you notice, like, whenever he does it, he always puts his hand in his pocket. You notice that? They always say
Ooh,
that.
yeah, he
He likes to
does.
put his hand in his pocket. So I don't
That's
know.
a good
Yeah.
observation. Yeah, he does. He does that a lot.
Thank you. Yeah.
She's smart. She's smart. She's single.
We smart out
Um
here. Oh, daggum.
I got your back. I'm the best wing woman. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna start blushing because I'm being so weird. Um, okay. Anyway, at this time when Farah is at the night court with Reese, or what she thinks is the night court, like the night court headquarters, but really it's not. So while she's there, Reese decides to tell her that there is a war coming. Like, I want you on my side. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to be able to help me, but it's up to you. It's your decision totally. You can decide what you want to do, but I would like to have you on my side. And I would also like to have Talon on my side if you could, kind of convince him that and let him know that war's coming. So she takes it all in jest and she's like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to give you an answer right now, but I'll think about it basically.
Right.
Right? Am I right? I like
Yeah.
to think that's what happened.
Yes.
um, so the week comes to a close, and she goes back to the spring court. And my gosh, the first thing that they do is interrogate her.
Yeah. They want
Like,
her to be their little spy.
come on now. She's just been to a different court of somebody that you would assume that she's being tortured by, and the first thing you want to do is interrogate the poor lady. Like, get
Yeah.
real.
Mm.
Like, is this real life? I don't know.
Yeah,
I,
he's
I
got his priorities all mixed up for
oh,
sure.
jacked up, jacked up. It just infuriates me. Look, I get really passionate about these books, and if he infuriates the crap out of me. I just get so mad.
Well, and it's yeah, and it's annoying too because she tells him everything that she knows, and then also later, like when they're talking about it, he's like, "There's not going to be a war. There's not going to be a war. There's not going to be a war. Don't worry about it." And she's like, Rhysand, he's concerned. I think we should be concerned. I want to help. And he's like, no, no, no,
Yep.
don't worry about it. It's fine. There
Yep.
won't be one.
Yep.
Yeah, you know.
So he's not concerned at all, and decides that she doesn't need to train. She wants to train, and he's like, "Nah, you don't need to train, because if other people see you
Yep.
and they know that you have their powers, they're going to come for you." And it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but in my mind, I'm thinking, don't you think she could handle her own then? If she would train, she would be able to take care of that instead of hiding.
Well, yeah, and look at what all she did as a human.
Oh my
Look at what all
gosh.
she went through, all that she did. You think she can't handle,
Yeah.
other fairies now that she has the power of like 7 High Lords? Like, I think she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Teach her how to
I
use them, and she could take over the world if she wanted
Oh,
to.
absolutely. I mean, us women are powerful, okay? And then
Mm-hmm.
add Fae powers. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes.
And you've got all
Yeah.
of the 7 High Lords. You've got something from each one of them. Yeah. Go off, sis. Go off.
Yep, an unstoppable force.
That's
For
right.
sure.
That's right. Okay. Man, we get so into this, and then we kind of get, well, I kind of get bland talking about it, and then I get so into what I'm talking about. Okay. So this is the part that really pisses me off. And we're skipping over quite a few things, but also go read the book. We don't want to give everything away. Like, go read the book. It's so good. All of them are so good. So, but we're
Mhm.
just kind of hitting the main points and telling you our opinions on it. But Farah wants to go help the village. She wants to go out into the village and help. And Tama's like, absolutely not. You're staying here. And she's like, no, I'm going. So she finally puts her foot down, and then he puts his boot down and says, no, you're not going. And I'm going to make sure of that because, whoop, here's an air shield. You can't get by it.
Yeah. Locks her up, traps her in there.
Trapped. Trapped. That's abuse, homeboy. That's abuse. Also, she had been sleeping a lot in this time frame. They
Not
postponed the
eating.
wedding. She wasn't eating. She wasn't painting. Um,
Nope.
Mostly sleeping all day. If that's not a sign of
Mhm.
depression, I don't know what is. Like, she's depressed, she can't
Yeah.
get out. You're ruining her life because you're keeping her locked up when
Mhm.
she is supposed to be free as a bird. This girl is just a free spirit, and you've got her locked up. What does that do to somebody's soul? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, she definitely spiraled into a deep, deep, deep depression. Like, she didn't even want to do the things she used to love doing. She used to love painting. Now she didn't paint. She didn't want to paint.
Yep.
She yeah, slept all day, wasn't eating. She lost a lot of weight.
Yeah,
Her
she was like
clothes weren't
skin and
fitting
bones.
right. She talks
Yep.
about like it just
Like, they were
yeah.
hanging off of her. Like, she was already
Mhm.
small, and then she loses all this weight, and her clothes are hanging off of her. They had to take them in so
Yeah.
much. It was just awful.
Yeah, it was really sad to read. Like you could feel her emotions, and she just didn't even really realize that it's happening
Mhm.
until it's gotten as bad as it has, and
Yep.
then you just fall apart.
And I feel like
That's
that's
very much how depression works
yeah.
sometimes.
I feel like that happens a lot
You don't
with
know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening at the time until you're, like, deep in it. And that's the same thing with abuse.
Mhm.
Again, trigger warning for abuse talk, but, I myself have been through a situation like that, and it is you don't realize it, and you think you're the problem and that you need to be the one to back off
Mhm.
when it's actually, um, the other person, your partner, who is doing it to you. And or not even your partner, it could be somebody else, like a friend could also do the same thing and, abuse you. And in my
Yeah.
situation, I didn't wanna get out of it because I was like, "Oh, it's just, it's my fault, like, I need to do stuff better. I, I'm at fault as well in other areas, so why should I blame him?" Kinda thing, and I think that's kinda the same situation. She's like, "I'm a bad person for killing these people in order to save other people, and I deserve this," which is not true.
Yeah, I definitely get the same. Yeah, and I feel like she makes excuses for Tamlin anytime he
Yes.
freaks out because he does have a couple moments where he loses his temper and, like, explodes, like, the whole study, and if she hadn't put that shield bubble around her, she would have been seriously hurt, like, everything was, like, shredded,
Oh, yeah, that we
but
didn't
then
get
she just
that
makes
either.
excuses for him.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
'Cause he
just
explodes on her and, like, everything just, shatters, and she finds out how to do the shield bubble, and he couldn't get in for a second, he couldn't get into
Mhm,
her shield, but
mhm,
he ends up getting into it, and I think that's a lot of the times in abuse cases, it's the same thing too. I know in from personal experience that, um, they say, "Oh, it's okay, like, I won't do it again," kinda thing, and it still happens. And,
yeah,
um
he literally said that, yeah, he said, "I'll do better, I promise I'll do
Yep,
better,"
yep.
and it's like, "No, you're not,"
And if
and literally the next day he tells her she can't leave the house.
Oh, yeah, and locks her in there. Also, if you're in a type of
Mhm,
situation like that, please don't hesitate to get help, please, and we'll find some resources for you if you need it. Please message us. Get some help. Get out. But anyways,
mhm.
I just think it's a very, very deep topic and very, heavy topic to not say that, "Hey, we're here for you. I'm here for you. I've probably been through it. Just reach out." Okay? Let's move on to some happier stuff in a minute, okay? But I do wanna say she does kinda crumple under, like, claustrophobia, like, she gets
Yeah.
claustrophobia from being stuck inside that shield. And who comes to get
Mhm.
her? My favorite!
Well, yeah, more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Morgan.
so
Yep, go
Reese
ahead.
yeah, Reese shattered the shield so that she could get in, because if he'd done it himself, then Tamlin would have been able to go to his place and, bombard
Start a
them,
war.
so he had to have more go get her, take her outside the land, and then Rhysand went and picked her up and took her back home to the Night
Yeah.
Court.
Yep. And so she was um taken back to the night court to Reese's house in the night court. And then I believe that's when we meet Azriel, Cassian, and Amryn. Or is it after we go to Valeris? Do they go to Valeris
He takes
first?
he takes her. Yes, they do go to Valeris, and she doesn't actually meet them yet. They show up, and he asks her, "Do you want to meet them yet or not? It's up to you." And she
Right.
says no, she's too tired, so
She
she
goes
goes to bed.
upstairs.
Which I
Yeah.
think is just Rhysand's whole thing, which is amazing, is that he always asks her at every point in time, "Do you want to do it? Yes or no?"
Yes.
Whatever you say goes, which is the exact opposite of Tamlin. He's
Yes.
like, "Whatever I say goes. I don't care what you want." And Rhysand's the
Yep.
exact opposite, and it's amazing, and I love it.
And I think that's why it's so refreshing. Like, he's refreshing for her. And I think that's why you fall in love with him.
Mhm.
Not just her falling in love with him, but like we fall in love with him as readers because he's a complete opposite. and he's very considerate. Regardless of the facade that he puts on for everybody else, he is golden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just amazing.
Right.
So, after this incident with Tamlin, and she gets pulled back to the Night Court and Valeris, she decides she's going to stay there for a little while and decides she wants to help Reese. I'm not sure at what point she sends a letter to Tamlin, but she does end up sending him a letter at one point in time, and just wants him to know that she's okay and she left of her own free will. Which I think is very important.
Yeah, and I think right. Definitely probably hurts Tamlin more. You know, it's probably easier for him to think that Rhysand stole her.
Yep.
You know, rather than her going there of her own free will and wanting to get away from him, truly. But definitely what's best for her in that situation.
Yeah, I think if you truly love somebody, you would want what's best for them regardless. So that's where I take issue with a lot of things that Tamlin has done. Because he's not
Tamlin
showing her
does
best
a lot of bad
interest.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
He sure does.
More things to come. He is a traitor.
Yep. Oh, it makes me think of Olivia Rodrigo song. But anyway.
But we haven't mentioned exactly what the war is yet. So, the war that's that Rhysand is so worried about is King Hybern, who wants to tear down the wall between the human realm and the fairy realm.
Yep.
And so that's what Rhysand is trying to stop, and that's Feyre wants to help him with that goal.
Because there was a war before, and Rhysand was on the side of the humans. So,
yes.
That's, he still thinks it's wrong. He still thinks that he should be on the side of the humans and that Hybern needs to leave him alone. So
they want to. The humans were slaves, and they want to make them slaves again.
Right. So then he decides, or Feyre decides, I'm going to help Rhys out with the impending war. So she lets him know, and then he's like, "Okay, I've got a test for you." Oh my Lord Jesus! This. If you pass this test, you can help me, basically. And like, we want to make sure that what we're looking for, that you can find it, because like calls to like. So
yeah, you hear that all the time throughout all the books. You're gonna hear that for the rest of the series all the time.
Like calls to like calls to like. It's everywhere. And because she was made, and these things were also made, he believes that she'll be able to find them.
So what's happening is that everything was made, their story of how they came to be, everything came from the cauldron.
Yeah.
And this cauldron is like this huge like source of like power. And Hybern was looking for the cauldron so that he could tear down the wall. And so they think that she'll be able to find things to help them stop that from happening. And so she's looking for these made items, and they want to test her to see if she can actually do it. So he sends her to the Weaver. That's her name, right?
Yep, the Weaver. Yep, that's who we go to. You can go ahead if you want. Go ahead. I'm letting you talk about the Weaver.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's this house in the middle, where the Reaver is, and he wants her to find an object and just see if she can go in there and feel for it, just find a connection to it and pick up that item. The Weaver is a very creepy, scary lady.
Yes.
Who weaves things out of people.
Yeah.
It's kind
That's
of
what I got
gross.
out of it. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah. She, yeah, kills people and then turns them into weaving materials and weaves them into things. Um, and so Feyre's trying to be real sneaky
And
and get in there
also,
and get inside him and get out.
what is wrong with the Weaver? Like, not wrong with her, but she has a disability.
Go ahead.
She's blind. She's blind. So Feyre is trying to be sneaky, like Raven said, and get past this blind Weaver. But also, you've got to, when you're blind, I'm sure you've got like other senses that are like super heightened. Like, and I didn't mean to say
Yeah.
wrong with her because there's nothing wrong with being blind. But um you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say it
We
like
got
that. I
it's
don't want
okay.
people to come for me.
No, it's
My
okay.
dad's blind.
It's okay.
So my dad's legally blind.
It's
Um
okay. It's fine. It's fine. You're fine. Keep going. Just move
okay,
on.
look. I get very stressed out about what people think about me, so I'm sorry. Okay. So she ends up finding the object, and it's like she has to run out like kicking and screaming because this Weaver finds her. And so she ends up locking the door. Feyre climbs through the deckgum fireplace, and it's got like
It's like the chimney or
oils and
whatever. Yeah.
fats and like
Oh, sick.
we
Absolutely
both did
sick.
that at the same time.
Disgusting. Oh.
It's gross. The way it's described is like I feel like you know how when butter softens, like
Yeah.
that's what I feel like the texture
Ugh.
is. Like when butter's like super soft and like ugh. Okay. I'm done with that.
Disgusting. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Moving along, we're going to kind of move along a little faster just because we've got a lot to cover. But so
It's a big book.
yeah, it is. There's a lot to talk about, and I've got like a whole other page of notes that we might not get through, so I'm going to have to like kind of speed us through. Um but she ends up finding it, and she goes back to Rhysand, and then he takes her back to Valeris, and Cassian's like, that was a jerk move, Rhysand. And then he was like, yeah, but we found out that she could find it. So then they decide they need to go find out some more information, make sure that the cauldron is actually the thing that they need to disable. And where did Jurian's eye and finger go? So they go to the prison that Rhys has in the Night Court, and it's like the creepiest thing you could possibly imagine. And Amryn tells them they need to go see the bone carver. So she's not going back in that place because that's where she's been held before. We find out that she was held there and somehow escaped, but she's the only person that's ever escaped. And then when they meet the bone carver, he appears as a little boy. But he only appears that way, to Feyre. He appears as Jurian, I believe, to Rhys.
Yeah.
And confirms that the cauldron is what the King of Hybern has. He's already brought Jurian back to life. You have to find 2 halves of the book in order to nullify the cauldron. But he only offers up the information if Feyre gives information to him. Which is crazy. But I mean, I guess I don't know what he gets out of it, but I mean, good on him for trying to make bargains. I mean,
yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot going on down there, he's just by himself, so,
right.
any kind of excitement I'm sure is
Right.
exciting.
And also, Well, I just want to point out that when Feyre did go back to the Spring Court at one point in time, because this is a key point, at one point in time they had what was called a tithe, and the people of the Spring Court have to offer up something, or Tamlin punishes them. And this crazy looking water wraith didn't have anything to offer, and Feyre gave her jewels, and Tamlin got pissed about it. But the water wraith was like, we will never forget this. So I just want to point that out as well. Anyways, after all of that happens, we figure out where the two halves of the book are. One's with the human queens and one is with the summer court. So are there 7 human queens? I think there's 7 human queens.
Yeah. I think that's right.
And they figure out, okay, we're going to send a letter to the summer court. Let's see what happens with the summer court. While we're doing that, let's figure out where we can meet the human queens. So they end up going back to Feyre's house. And everybody meets her sisters, and Cassian and Nesta get along very well. She said sarcastically. I
love them.
Nesta and anybody equals anger. But
that's true.
Anyways, at this point, Feyre is trying to practice on her other talents, and the Ator finds her and attacks her in the human realm. I wonder how he found her.
I don't know.
Like, I think it might have mentioned it. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking like there was a lot going on with you, boy. And you're able to find her. Like, you snuck off like a little rat to go back to Highburn. And now you're a little weasel finding her and attacking her. And she finds out she can winnow because she's trying to get away from him.
Oh, yeah, finally.
Yeah. So, yeah. Then we find out that Azriel is not just in the inner circle. He's also, he interrogates people for Rhysand, and he jacks the Ator up. Jacks him up. Tries to find out what he knows. So,
well deserved.
Yeah. And the summer court ends up writing back too, and they end up visiting the summer court. A lot of crap goes down. She like flirts with the High Lord of the Summer Court, which I love him, by the way. I love Tarquin.
Yeah, he seems really
he's
sweet.
A sweetie.
Like, the way that they went about it, I feel like if they had asked him for it and told him what they were doing, I honestly feel like he probably would have helped them. But
yeah,
they made an enemy out of him by
right. Instead of asking him for the book, which I think if Feyre would have asked him for the half of the book, like you said, he would have given it up. But instead of asking, they go and steal it. Like, it doesn't. I don't know. But they almost, her and Amryn are the ones that go to try to steal it, and they almost don't get away because of being in the water and almost like drowning, because there's like wards in place when somebody steals the book. And also it's like a tide or something had rolled in or something like that. But to the rescue is the water wraith.
Yeah.
It's always good to be kind. Let me just say that. It's always good to be kind to people.
Exactly. Kindness always pays off.
It does. It does. And she's like, my sister's debt is repaid. That's nice. But so we go back and forth and back and forth, right? So mortal realm, summer court, back to the mortal realm, because the mortal queens finally respond and they don't want to give over the book, that other half of the book at the meeting. But as long as Reese gives them proof, then they'll be willing to consider it. And Reese wants to show them Valeris, which has been hidden, right?
Right. Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what?
Yeah, he's kept that hidden. I wish he hadn't have done it, just because,
Agreed.
number one, it didn't work. I know that he was trying to paint a better image of himself, because he does have such a bad image that he has created, that he's maintained, but I just wish they would have thought of some better way to convince them, than showing and putting everybody in Valaris at risk, and putting Valaris itself at risk, because now these queens know something, these queens that you can't even trust,
Yeah.
and now they know your biggest secret that you've kept for how long?
Yep.
I just don't think it was worth it.
Yeah, but I think one of the queens, after they meet the second time, ends up giving the book to them anyway, because she's like, "Hey, we're like, some stuff's about to go down." And Amarin's
Yeah,
the
he
only
does it in
one who can.
secret. The other
Yeah.
queens don't know.
Yep. And Amarin's the only one that can decode the book. But the way that they showed Valaris to the queens was they got this orb type thing from the Court of Nightmares, which is where Reese puts on a facade. Like, that's what he wants
Mhm.
everybody outside to see. That's the persona that he puts
Mhm.
on, the mask that he puts on, because he wants to protect his people. Which, to me,
Mhm.
it's a big price to pay, but he does it for the thousands of people in Valeris. You know what I mean? And Farah has to act like Reese acted under the mountain.
Yeah.
So
She does a
it's
good job.
oh yeah, it's pretty intense. And then I feel like this is where we learn that they have feelings for each other, like for real, because they're like they kind of like it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And we also find out some crazy information too, that the whole feud between Tamlin and Reese was because Tamlin's family killed Reese's mother and sister, and Reese's
Mhm.
father ended up killing Tamlin's entire family. Two wrongs don't make a right. So it just kept just getting uglier and uglier and uglier.
Yeah.
Um, and Reese confesses all this stuff to Farah, and then decides that they need to go out and train one day. And I believe this is when Lucian catches up with them, and tries to take
Mhm.
Farah back, and she's like, "No, I wrote him a letter for a reason. I
Yeah.
don't want to be here, or I want to be here. I don't want to be there.
Right. Right.
Leave me alone." And then, do you want to talk about what happens after that, where Reese actually does get captured?
Mm. Sure. So they're like flying, right? And he gets shot by an ash arrow.
He was just about to tell her something
Um,
important too.
right. And so he drops her, and then they get like separated. And so she's trying to go find him, and she ends up following them into like this layer type area or whatever, where he's being like hung up by all this ash stuff, that like blocks their powers and their
Yep.
healing, so he can't heal. He's real jacked up. But she's got this new winnowing power that she's gotten a hold of. So she winnows in and then cuts somebody and then winnows over to somebody else and then cuts them and then
She was
winnows to the next one and slashes them. She was pissed. So she just cut everybody up real quick.
She's like, how dare you?
And saved her man. Yeah, but he was very, very, very seriously injured.
Yeah.
To where they couldn't really go anywhere. So they end up going to a cave.
Yep.
And he's essentially dying. He's not doing well. And so she does the one thing that she knows how to do, which is to catch a Suriel who knows all the answers to everything.
Yeah, I love that.
She goes out. Yeah, I love the Suriel. He's cool. Well, he or she, I don't know. They're cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
But she goes and she gets him and asks the Suriel how to heal Rhysand, and he tells her. And he also slightly mentions nonchalantly a little fact that Feyre did not know. Bum, bum, bum,
bum, bum, bum.
That Rhysand is Feyre's mate.
Ah!
Mates. Big news.
Mind blown.
Big news.
Yeah, and we find, like, that's what I was talking about at the beginning where he's like, doing? Like, I imagine him being like, doing? And like backing up when he like, looks at her. Because that's when the bond snapped in place and he felt it. And he talks about it to her. He says he knew from the moment he met her, but it kind of snapped into place at that point in time when he backed up. And when she finds out from the Suriel, she goes back, she finds out that her blood can cure him. And she's like pissed. She's basically like, drink my blood. And like getting mad. And then she's like, when were you going to tell me? And he's like, Feyre. Like, she's like, get us out of here. And they finally get back to Valeris. And Morgan and everybody else is there, and they get resituated, and she turns to Morgan and she's like, get me out of here right now. I don't want to be anywhere near anybody right now. So she takes her to the only place that she knows that nobody would know that she's there, and she winnows Feyre to this house that's like basically up on a mountain, like 10,000 steps up to it, and you can't winnow in unless you're certain people. So what? You look like you want to say something.
Doesn't she go to the cabin?
Was it the cabin? It might have been.
It was the cabin. She goes to the cabin.
Oh, I'm a liar. But nobody can winnow in it either.
Yeah, she goes. Yeah, no, she has to winnow or outside. It's like in like really tall snow, like snow up to like your knees.
And Morgan leaves her alone too.
Her there, and she just stays in the cabin by herself.
Yeah, and the house like does stuff that you want it to. Like if you ask for it, the house does stuff.
Yeah, it's enchanted to give you.
Yeah, I was mistaken. I apologize.
And it's okay. I was like real confused. I was like, I'm pretty sure she goes to the cabin.
Well, you looked like you wanted to say something. I was like, okay, what did I do?
I was like second guessing myself. I was like gaslighting myself.
Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. We're non-gaslighting queens here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So let me find out where we're at. Okay, yeah. So she takes a few days to herself because she's pissed. I would be too if you kept that from me. She's like, you were going to let me get like I'm married to somebody who wasn't my mate. I'm like, what the actual heck? But I think after kind of just chilling out and painting and thinking on it, that she realizes the reasons that he did it. And I think Morgan kind of explains it to her a little bit in detail about why. because Morgan knew as well. And she asked who Feyre had asked
Mhm.
Rhysand who knew, and he said that Morgan was one of them. So then they end up letting Rhys come to the house. Like they end up telling Rhys where she's at, and he ends up coming to see her. And he tells her
Yep.
like, what?
I said, yeah.
Oh, am I skipping over stuff or?
No.
Oh, okay. Now I'm gaslighting myself.
No, there's a lot of important stuff happens in that cabin, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So he tells her about the whole. I think he tells her about um, the Tamlin stuff there, and then also, tells her a lot about his, feelings for her and when he knew and all that stuff, and that he would see her dreams. Am I right? Or he would have dreams about her. That's what it was. He would have dreams about her.
Oh, and a really important thing that I think is so cute is that way back when Feyre was poor, she painted a dresser for her and her sisters,
Oh yeah.
and each drawer was like themed per sister. So Nesta's was what, flames, which fits.
Yes. Yes.
Elaine's was flowers, and
Yes, which
then
also fits.
Feyre's was a night sky with
I know,
stars.
which is
It's so beautiful.
hilarious. To the
So
stars who
cute.
listen.
We love.
Mm,
Yeah, I thought that was so cute.
such a good
A
quote.
nice touch.
It is. It's very good, like foreshadowing. It's amazing. I love Sarah J. Maas and I love her writing. Sarah J. Maas, I love you so much. Please send me a signed book. Anyway, sorry, not sorry. Okay, so she starts to make Rhys food, and he's like, you're making me food? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, that's a big deal when it comes to mates. And she's like, okay. It's like, um, he's like, you're basically accepting the bond. And she's like, okay. Like, that's how I imagine, like, she's just kind of like, your point is, like, I'm in it. And he's kind of shocked, like,
Yeah.
oh, she's accepting it. So it's pretty good. I love that. I love the whole setup of that. Like, she just starts making
Yeah.
him food, and he's like, that's a big deal. Um, so, Amryn ends up decoding the book. The Mortal Queens are shown Valeris, and eventually betray Rhys's trust and show Hybern Valeris, and he sends his army to jack it up. So our poor Valeris is trashed, and Feyre fights among the best of them and defends her court, because these are her people, and she loves these people already. And man, does she fight hard! I mean, just an admirable person. And also rips the Ator a new one. Suck it.
Yeah, she destroys him.
Oh, I can't stand him. Like, I just imagine a little creepy bat. Like a bat
Yeah,
with a
me too.
degum, like, pig nose or something. Like, something gross. So, they do end up fighting them off and put the wards back in place. And then they decide, okay, enough is enough. We've got to nullify the cauldron. We've got to do something. So we're going to go to Hybern. Since he came to us, we're going to go to him now, and we're going to nullify the cauldron. The only person that doesn't go, I think, is Amryn.
Yeah, I don't think she's there.
I think she stays back to be, because she's Rhys's second, so she stays back to watch Valeris and make sure everything's good. And this is where
they have a very well thought out plan.
Yes. Yep.
But it does not go well.
So, no, and this is where I get really pissed off and really passionate.
Yeah, so they get in to find the cauldron, they see it, and they've got the book, and Feyre's trying to deactivate it, but she ends up putting them together, and it almost kills her. And they have to rip it away from her.
I hate this part.
It doesn't work. And then they get caught. So they get caught, and they are now in front of Hybern, and he's got something inside Azriel that if they make a wrong move, he'll kill him.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Obviously I knew that they weren't just going to get away with it, but I had a little hope, okay? Sarah, why'd you do this to me?
Well, really, for me, it's the betrayal of
Tampon?
Because Tampon is working with Hybern.
Yeah, can you believe that crap?
What he wants, and Tamlin can get what he wants.
Could you believe that? Did you think
love somebody and betray them like that?
No. And did you think he was going to do that? Did you have any idea that it was him?
Absolutely not.
No, I didn't either. Nope.
No, I mean, I definitely knew that we hadn't seen the last of him, you know, because he was going to be really upset that Feyre left.
Yeah.
But I definitely did not see him doing what he did.
Excuse me, Tamlin, if you
it's working.
You need to know, if you love somebody, let them go, homeboy.
Honestly.
For real. If they come back, you're good. I mean, that's not how the quote goes, but anyways.
You're good.
Oh my gosh, he got me heated, homeboy. Cassian ends up injured, which breaks my freaking heart. And Moore is screaming, trying to help him, and then we find out that the person I always knew was going to betray them also betrayed them as well. Freaking Ianthe and her little power-hungry butt. And we also find out that she tried to sleep with Rhysand, and he's like, nah, not having it. Same thing with Lucian.
Yeah, she's a hoe.
You's a hoe.
Power. She is. She's bad.
She bad, and not in a good way. So she sold out Feyre's sisters. Feyre told her all about them, and she sold them out. And her sisters end up put in the cauldron, in the deadgum cauldron, to as a show of good faith from Hybern that the human queens who sold them out because they wanted to live forever,
immortality,
right? So they pushed them in the cauldron to show them that it could be done. But Nesta decided that when she left, she was going to take something with her. She was not playing. She wasn't playing, homeboy.
No, Nesta
and
don't play.
I'm pretty sure she gave Hybern the finger before she went into the cauldron.
She did. She did. Yep, the last thing that popped up out of the water
was her finger. She's like, read between the lines. And
Oh gosh.
Man, I love that though because you could just see her doing that. Like she, like last second, she
Oh, for
it's just
sure.
she's like, screw you. Um, so then
Mhm.
they come out of the cauldron and they're fine, but then they put one of the queens in there and she doesn't turn out so well. um,
No, the cauldron is mad because Nesta took something from it.
mm-hmm.
So it turns the queen into an old lady.
Yeah.
She's real
I would
old,
have taken
decrepit.
something from it too, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, okay, I'm not going down without a fight.
Yeah.
Like you want to take me? I'm taking something from you,
Yeah, and Nesta
homeboy.
certainly isn't. Mhm.
Yeah. But anyway.
So, in order to kind of get everybody home safely,
Yeah.
I guess kind of, Feyre has to put on a show.
Yep.
Rhysand has to put on a show because Tamlin wants Hybern to break the bond between the bargain and the bond between Rhysand and Feyre.
Yeah,
And
because
so they kind
you
of have
can
to put
smell
on
it.
this big show. Yeah. That Hybern, it's successful and that the bond is broken and Feyre was in a trance the whole time and she's like, "Oh Tamlin, like I missed you, like oh my gosh, take me home." Like she puts on a really good show.
She's like, I can't believe that he had me under a trance.
Yeah. She does a good job. Good actress.
She is a good actress. But she ends up going back with
Mhm.
Tamlin, but he doesn't know that right before they went,
Mhm.
they decided that they were going to crown her High Lady of the Night Court, and Tamlin said it couldn't be done, that there was never a High Lady. And there is
Yeah.
now, you son of a gun. Oh, so that's where the begins. And it's just a lot to unpack. So I apologize if it was rushed, but it's just a lot. So don't take our word for it. Go read it yourself. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's also a 10 out of 10 for me.
Oh, on a scale of little treasure to little trash, are you giving it a 10 out of 10?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely I don't know if it's my favorite, if this one's my favorite or the next one's my favorite because
Yeah,
I'm an action gal. Like I love action, and the next book is
got
like
some
all
action.
action. Like there's
Yep.
a lot going on.
I think I like the
So
next
this
book a
is just
lot
kind of
too,
like
just because she's in Tamlin's court. You know, she goes back with him. I think that's why I really like it, is because she's kind of working on the inside.
yeah, that doesn't quite go in their favor later, but that's okay. She had fun doing it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah,
But
I'm
yeah.
reading it again right now, so I'm not quite there yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I agree. This one is a 10 out of 10. I loved the character arc that Feyre went through, especially with
Yes.
kind of being depressed and kind of setting herself in the situation and being like, well, I guess this is my life now. Like, I don't get
Yeah.
to do what I want. I don't get to do anything.
Yep.
And kind of just taking this abuse and really not doing anything about it. But then, Rhysand comes along and he's like, do you want to do this? Yes or no? Like, it's your choice. And I just think that was really beautifully written by Sarah J.
Yes.
Maas. I think she did a really good job of kind of showing the transition of Feyre from like the depression to, coming into herself again as a warrior, which she's been for years when she was poor, protecting her family. Like she's
Yep.
stepping back into that role of like taking care of herself. She doesn't need to be taken care of, she's
Yep.
a grown, strong woman. She doesn't need tampon to take care of her. So I like this book
uh
too.
yeah, so I completely agree. And I also just want to point out to you, like, we are talking about the entire book. We are going to miss some things. And
Oh,
we're still trying to
yeah.
figure out to how this is going to work well for us and you guys. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to let us know. Be kind, always be kind, please. But have you can have a little suggestions to how we can make it better or how it would be more entertaining for you to listen to. But I know that I will add questions next time like I did the first time. I just feel like it helps guide conversation a little better and get us on track. So, um, but we have had so much fun doing this for you guys though. I mean, I think I could speak for both of us when I say that. It's so fun just to sit here and talk about our favorite books.
I guess. Yeah. And that's how it all started, was like I started the series after you'd already read it and we were
Mhm.
talking about it and we were like, wow, this is so fun.
Yeah, and we're like,
So
"Oh, we should do a podcast." And here we are, literal trash after it's been a few months like since we even
it's
started
true.
talking about it. So, um this is all coming to fruition and we appreciate all the love and support that everybody has shown so far. Especially with the first episode, we got a lot of good feedback, which is awesome. And we hope that you'll keep listening to us and we'll talk trash with you soon.
Yeah, see you guys next time.
Bye.